Tell me your story.
How did it all start? Do you remember?
Oh, now what happened? How did it stop?
This is Small Business Origins.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Small Business Origins. You're tuned in. It's our nationwide search. We're looking for entrepreneurs that have a story to tell. And as always, I'm your host, John Kelly, aka John the Marketer on Instagram. And joining me in the studio, I've got a group of people that want to do exactly that. Now, they're with some nonprofits. They're the organizational structure behind these things. I've got Wes Drake with Camp Comrade and Jason and Patty Corthell with Guardian Grounds Ranch. And of course, yours truly is the best marketer for these nonprofits. I am John Kelly. I get the honor and pleasure to serve as the Chief Marketing Officer for Guardian Grounds Ranch. And we're going to dive into all of that stuff, but they're from right here in Texas. They're part of those executive teams heading up the nonprofits. Just like I said, everybody, welcome to the show, y'all.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Patty, I know you're being shy over there. You don't want to come in on this thing and you're just not looking forward to
say hi to the people.
Yeah. You got to say hi to the people.
Yeah. You're on.
Hey guys.
So we got some shy wives and supporters and probably harder workers than all of us just in the background that are sitting here viewing this thing and taking part in it. And we're happy to have all of y'all in the studio. Now, before we kick this thing off, we always start out with an icebreaker question. And today's icebreaker question is, what was your dream job as a kid?
I would say firefighter. It sounds cliche because that's what I do now. But I distinctively remember being probably 5 or 6 years old and my dad coming home and smelling like the fire station. And that has always stayed with me. There's times I walk into the station now and I still get to smell that. And it's very impactful. I would say it brings me back to my roots. Beyond that, though, there was a brief time where I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was a teenager. And I thought about going into sports medicine because of injuries. I wasn't able to extend my football career. And so I thought a good way to stay in it was to be into sports medicine.
Yeah. So for me, my childhood dream was to be on the SWAT team. Of course, like every other kid, I played a lot of army stuff when I was younger. That's probably what led me to the SWAT team. Then I was going to college and went to a job fair there, and the SWAT team said, "Hey, you can do 4 years of college and 2 years on patrol, or you can join the Army for 4 years, and then that'll fast track you into the team." So that's what I did. And then on accident, 20 years and 13 days later, I retired and was a little broken up and wasn't going to join the SWAT team at that point.
Yeah. Patty, I know that you were just so interested in taking part in this thing, but where'd you come from? How'd you wind up kind of getting involved in the Guardian Grounds? Like, what's your background? What were you involved in? Because, you're one of the ones that doesn't kind of have like that veteran status or first responder status, right?
Yeah, I was just a wife of a first responder that has walked the walk and gone through his trials and tribulations. And so I've just walked alongside him and have supported his vision on helping other first responders.
Yeah, I think, and I'm being honest and genuine when I say this, but I think it's a bullshit answer when people say, hey, they're just a wife of a first responder or a husband of a first responder. Like, they're not a part of that. They're not an actual veteran. They're not an actual first responder. And to me, I think that that's something that we're probably going to hop into when we start talking about this mental health side of things. But it's different being married to us. It's very different. Our household is different. The way that we take care of our kids is different. For me, just kind of seeing what I need to do differently at home for my wife has been kind of eye-opening. I mean, I think that the story is just as valuable to have a support system because there's nothing we'd be able to do at work, at a nonprofit, anywhere else without our backbone at home taking care of us. I mean, my wife is the same way. There's no way in hell she could ever be a first responder or, go into the military or even be a nurse or anything else like she temporarily thought about for about 2 seconds because it's just not her bag. But what she is good at is being that person that I know when I come home, things are handled at the house. And I know the kids are handled. It doesn't matter if I'm gone for a 48-hour shift, 72-hour shift, or if I'm coming back and, I'm looking for just that kind of solace that like things are handled. So,
yeah, you actually took the words out of my mouth there. That's something that we're actually, and I'll just tie it back in, right? That's something that we have learned from every one of these events, both with Guardian Grounds and Camp Comrade. Number one, every piece of documentation that comes out and released to the public gets checked by the better half. However, I think that's a thing that's common, right? So people will act in that behalf, in that manner of saying, hey, I'm just this, right? And the same thing happens with veterans and first responders. There's some firefighters that look up to Jason and say, I'm just a rookie. There's some veterans that say, I never served in combat, right? So nobody is just anything, right? What they are is just part of the team, and they play a significant role in the success of everything that we do.
Yeah. I think my dream job, going back to the icebreaker question, I know I kind of skipped around there for a second, but believe it or not, my dream job when I was a kid was being a cop. And then I just kind of grew up and got smarter and realized, like that's just not the way to go. Right. Yeah. But no, I mean, I joke, most of my family, I say most, a few of my family members were cops. And as I was growing up, it was just something that I was like, you know what, that's what I want to do whenever I grow up. And then I think that God leads you into a certain path without you knowing exactly what that path is going to be. I've long said everything happens for a reason. If you don't subscribe to a religion, then put it up to faith, put it up to luck, put it up to whatever you want to put it up to. Everything happens for a reason, and we always wind up so much better in whatever it is that we wind up doing, even if we thought it was something different. But I had that in my mind. Even I'm talking like that, where that answer comes from was we had to make a cutout, kind of like a flat Stanley, except it was bigger for school. And it was like kindergarten. And then we had to decorate that cutout as what our dream job was, what we wanted to be. So my pawpaw was coming to talk. He was a chief deputy with Waller County Sheriff's Office. And it was just like, that's what I want to be. He's coming to talk on career day. And like, that's what I want to do. And then even in high school, getting out of high school, first thing I did was went and worked in the jail. And then just figured out real quick, first of all, I've got a temper. So, when I'm like at the academy, brass on site, and I'm lifting up a coworker to the wall and telling him I'll beat his ass after class so we don't get in trouble, still gets you in trouble.
How high was he off the ground? Really though?
A little bit. He was, a few inches at least. I was pissed. And so, I figured out with that redirection of like, unfortunately, his uncle was a major and he got to continue on and be employed. Even though he was just as involved as I was, and I was just a nobody, so they got rid of me. And then that's when I found my love for EMS and fire. And it's like, I'm so glad that I went that route, because I'd rather get paid 8 hours of my day to sleep, hopefully, and then the rest of it to sometimes do one of the worst jobs in the world. But always it's the best job and the most rewarding career that I could have ever thought to have. And I love my police brothers and sisters and everybody on the fire EMS side. And of course that extends to veterans too, but it's just kind of crazy how we, how far we come.
Well, I think too, to your point is, you trying the law enforcement route. Now you don't live with that. You don't live with, well, what if, or would I have liked being in law enforcement better, because you've already ventured down that road and it led you to the fire service. Right. And so when I was talking to my dad about joining the military, at first it was the Air Force. Right. That's what I came to terms on with my mom, because my mom was deathly worried that I was going to go off to combat and die. Right.
Yeah.
So I basically told her, I'm just going to go to the Air Force. Everything will be good. They have really nice amenities and they'll take care of me. And so she was sold on the Air Force. And I went to the Air Force recruiter 3 times, and all 3 times no one was in the office. And so, of course, the Marine Corps recruiter came out.
Oh, yeah.
And was like, hey, man, you see how much they already care about you? And I'm like, yeah, they haven't showed up 3 times in a row. He's like, I've been watching. And so he pulled me into his office and went home and told mom. But when I talked to my...
went over like a lead balloon.
It was terrible. It was horrible. And then I told her I was going in open contract, which basically meant at that time that you were going to be infantry, right?
Yeah.
We were still hot and heavy in Afghanistan and Iraq at that time, and essentially what that meant. But ended up working in JAG, which was super cool. It was just a totally different element that I was used to back at home. But I say all that to say, like, when I talked to my dad and I told my dad, and I kind of got his opinion on the military, he told me, he's like, man, that is one regret that I have in my life, is that I didn't serve at least 4 years in any branch. He's like, I look back now and I always think, what if, how much could that have got me ahead?
Yeah.
And I just told somebody a few days ago, like the military, even though it was 4 years, right? We just talked about just 4 years, but even though those 4 years were quick, I mean, it's propelled me ahead in life so much.
Yeah.
And so these countries that have those mandatory, hey, you need to serve at least 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, whatever. I'm kind of on board with that. Like I think, everyone serving their country, is a good thing, and I think it, with the benefits, it just propels people to that next level.
That creates that purpose, right?
Yeah.
That I think a lot of people are missing. And with a lot of the things going on today, missing a purpose is a problem. We look at things that happen across the world today and blame a lot of it on mental health issues, right? Yep. And one of the main things with mental health is not having that purpose and not being able to individually find that you do have a purpose, because everyone standing here has a purpose. But that's just a great way to give you that. And matter of fact, I just heard from a Medal of Honor recipient this past week. He said, a job gives you money, a profession gives you purpose, and a purpose gives you cold chills. And I thought that was one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard. And that just happened last week, right? So I think that's important, right? Whether it's the fire service, the military, the police, police force, whatever the case may be,
just serving
and gaining that purpose in return is worth it.
Yeah. I think, first, just kind of going back to that whole military thing, like I try not to hold on to those past things. Like I've come to terms with things happen for a reason, but going to your point of like making it mandatory, I almost wish I would have been pushed a little bit harder, because I had a similar story, except the Army recruiter was doing everything he could. The Marine Corps recruiter is just a better salesman, which it sounds like is kind of an industry standard. And so this Army recruiter had picked me up, taken me downtown to do the ASVAB and get all that stuff squared away. And everything was kind of just going right along. And then I came walking out. I had a presentation in one of my classes. I think it was like history or economics or some course that I had to do like an extra presentation. We had to be in a suit for it. So I'm a high schooler in a suit. Marine Corps recruiter sees me and he's like, "Oh, look at you, sharp dressed. I like it. Like you're just the type that needs to be one of the few and the proud, like come on." And I was like, well, this sounds badass. Like, yeah, I'm down. So I'll break up with the Army and, come over to the Marine Corps side. And I think what happened for me was I wasn't ready to be pushed that hard yet in high school, getting ready to graduate, but I needed to be nudged a little bit more than I had. So I think that I was kind of pushed a little too hard. And I felt like, oh, I'm 5'9", 210 pounds, and I'm supposed to be 180 and shredded. I'm just worthless and not going to make it. Yeah. Because I felt the pressure from them. And then all of a sudden, when I started going to the Navy side of things, because I got a call from my retired lieutenant of an uncle, and he was like, "What the fuck are you joining the Marine Corps for? We're a Navy family, son." And, I was like, well, the Navy wouldn't come talk to me. I had tried and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I shit you not, on my door, like probably 3-4 days after I talked to my uncle. "Hey, is your uncle this person?" "Yep." "All right, we're here to talk to you about, joining the Navy." And they just kind of reiterated the same thing I was hearing from the Marine Corps. Like, "You're too fat. You're too fat." And of course, I wish I could be what I was in high school again. Like that would be amazing.
Amen.
But it went to my head. And so I wound up not joining. And I think if I was pushed to the point of like, maybe even if it's not mandatory service, it's something like maybe more benefit to joining, or at least awareness of what you get. Like you said, Wes, like knowing as soon as I get out, I'm going to be a shoe-in for law enforcement, for, even firefighting and stuff like that. You get extra points on your test. Like if I would have known the true benefits that would have been there, maybe I would have gone ahead with something different. And I do sometimes wish like, damn, those benefits would have been nice for me. But at the same time, man, it's that kind of thing. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes I look at how fucked up we come back. Our guys and gals are coming back, and I'm like, you know what? That could have been me. Yeah. So maybe I would have been one of the 22 a day. Maybe that's why I didn't get pushed in that direction, because somebody out there, God, or like I said, fate, whatever you subscribe to, they knew. So, but I think it is important to know exactly what y'all said, man. It's like, no matter what your path wound up being, I'm not just a first responder. Yeah. Like I had to come to terms with that like, yeah, maybe I'm not a veteran, sure, but that doesn't mean that I'm not shit. Like, what we do as first responders is just as valuable. We're just serving our country at home versus potentially serving abroad.
Sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with the military and the way that they're marketing now is a little bit more open to, hey, once you get out, there's other benefits. When I got in, that wasn't really explained to me, right? Because the military in that sense, and Wes can probably allude to this a little bit more in detail, but the military in that sense, their job is not to, provide for you outside of the military. Their job is to try to keep you in the military, right? Like we want retention, we want recruiting, we want all these things, right? So I would say that the advertising has shifted a little bit because of people that have said the same thing, is, hey, once you get out, this, that, and the other. Because when I went through, it was like join the Navy or join the Air Force, some of the Army, but all of those branches are easily transferable to the civilian world.
Yeah.
The Marine Corps has nothing for you. And I'm like, cool. Like I screwed myself.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah. And so, it wasn't communicated to me very well either. But at that point in my life, taking my dad's advice and being like, yeah, I'll give it 4 years and see what's up.
I do think they're making huge changes on that though, because somebody finally got into the government's head and said, hey, did you know marketing also works for you, not just businesses? Because I've seen some stuff like, of course, Camp Comrade, Guardian Grounds, we have our partnership with the UFL, Houston Roughnecks. And if you watch any of the UFL games, you see that the Army has a huge contract with them.
Yeah.
And so every single game, they're taking these people, and these are people that are, not just your typical, hey, yeah, I'm infantry and went overseas and I'm fighting the battle. Like, these are people showing, oh no, you can do mental health in the
civilian
Army.
jobs
you can do
in the military.
Exactly. These things that really help you when you get out. So it seems like the narrative has definitely shifted, as you said.
Yeah. So I have two parts on that. One is, I think us retired personnel can do a better job coaching the youth of America about that purpose, about those benefits. Not saying, I'll give an example. I was on a social media platform and I saw a group of sergeants majors that I served with, and they were saying, it's common to hear, I'm glad I got out when I did. I'm glad to get out when I did, right? Yeah. Everything was better when we were in it, right?
Yep.
Which is most likely false, right? However, we need to understand that that's messaging and other people can see that, right? Because I'll tell you right now, I would not change a single thing of any of my life, quite frankly, but I definitely wouldn't change the military service. Of course, there was days that it sucked, right? I mean, that's why we have shirts that say "Embrace the suck."
Yep.
But every day I was sucking with people around me that wanted to be there and that had their eye on the mission as well. Mm-hmm. And our motto was always take care of the people and they'll take care of the mission, right? And I think we need to do that for our youth as well. Recently, I started one of my kiddos. His buddy wanted to join the military of some sort. In fact, I met his father at the Roughnecks game when we were supporting that. And so I've been training him for about 3 weeks. I'm going into week 4 now. Same thing like you. He's crushing it. I mean, there was the guy's never worked out in his life. He had never been to the gym. I asked all those questions to figure out where we're going to start. But now he went and got his hair cut. He looks great. He's clean cut. He's already losing weight and he's quite frankly ready to go. Right now, my messaging could have been the opposite. Hey man, fuck the Army. Right. But the reality is the Army not only taught me a skill and a trade, but I walked into corporate America and my peers had more longevity in that company than I had in the Army. Mm. So, and I'm running a company today, software engineering company, only because of the leadership and things that I learned throughout my experience in the Army. So that's really the message. Mm-hmm. And then of course the benefits, are excellent. But like you said, that's got to be a marketing campaign. And we've got to get our messaging right to actually teach the youth what capabilities are out there.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And y'all said we were going to have trouble and have points where we were too quiet and I would need to come up with something to continue the conversation over here. But it doesn't look like that's the problem. So all great points. I love it. I mean, that's exactly why we're all involved with these projects, is because we know that conversations like this need to be had so people can understand, you know, hey, there's shitty parts to service, there's great parts to service. And of course, we're focused on mental health when you get out because of all the problems we're going to get into that we see with veterans and first responders. But just to kind of add to that point, I'll tell you right now, like you said, every single job has a point where it sucks. If I told you there wasn't at least once probably per week that I'm ready to just like quit and walk out on my job, it happens. You know, you get in a bad headspace or something happens that you don't understand or something legit happens that really isn't fair and you just kind of have to suck it up and embrace that suck, as you said. Those things happen, man. But it happens when you work for Whataburger. It happens when you work for the military in some capacity. It happens when you're a cop, firefighter, EMT, or paramedic. It happens, you know, when you work an office job in marketing. Like there's times that all of us are like, you know what, we could just sell beefy marketing and then just go get real jobs. Like we're so done. But in the end, we know it's the greater purpose of what we're doing. As you said, it's knowing why we're here, why we do what we do. And I mean, this podcast, man, there's definitely times where I'm editing shows and I'm like, this sucks. And I just want to just shut it down. And this is too much work. And then I'm like, nope, because you know what? There's really cool nonprofits and really cool business owners that are on here that are making a name for themselves and their story needs to be told. Yeah. So definitely happy to be a part of that.
Yeah. It's special. It's an active service.
Yeah. So I know we kind of hopped into the who are we and where we came from type thing, but let's just kind of hop into Camp Comrade, Guardian Ground specifically. Wes, you know, tell us the story of Camp Comrade. How did it become what it is today? What is your future plan? Like, what's the origin story?
Yeah, so that goes into some of the benefits, if you will, right? So I retired in 2019. I moved to Houston in November of 2019, and my neighbor, I'm sorry, a couple years after that, we moved out to Hockley. And my neighbor is a retired Navy. And he was going to all these veteran retreats and all these different different organizations that were out there organizing different events and hunting and fishing things for veterans. And every time he would come back, I would always inquire about how it went. You know, what took place, how'd they run it, how'd it go. And a couple of times, what I gleaned from all of that is that there was some sort of criteria to get into every one of them, whether it was faith driven or post 9/11, combat wounded, disabled veterans, you name it. There was a left and right limit that you had to fit inside of a box in order to be able to go. In addition to that, there's very few that let spouses, friends, or confidants go. So after learning all this information about kind of how they were running and what was taking place, I kind of looked internally and said, why have you never taken advantage of any of these? And I said, well, I'm not trying to fit into a box. Eventually he went to one where I believe, and I will not name it, that their curriculum is completely flawed, to the point where this guy came home at 11 o'clock after an event. There was a retreat for the weekend, knocked on my door in tears and said, hey man, can I have a hug? And it was about what went on at that particular event. And that was it for me. That signed the check for me. And Sarah and I talked about it over and over. And I said, this is not right. We need to strip away the left and right limits. If they have a DD-214, they can join us. We can sponsor them, they can sponsor whatever guests they want, whether it's their children, their family, or a confidant or a best friend. It doesn't really matter. So that was really our beginning motivation. And then on top of that, I truly believe that nature and camaraderie is what makes us who we are. So whether that's, reconnecting with Mother Nature, getting your toes in the sand, feet in the water, whatever the case may be, maybe even throwing a bobber in the water, riding around on UTVs with your hair blowing, or, just sitting around and breaking bread. So I always make the joke when I'm talking about Camp Comrade, you can do all these events or you can do none, right? If you simply want to just come hang out around the fire pit and tell lies, that's cool too. Yeah. Right. We like all of it. Right. So that was really the basis of where it came from. And then I talked to a lot of veterans, a lot of friends. I talked to Jason 3 years ago or something like that about the plan, and I love what Jason's done. So that's where it all started, and then we kicked around. What does the name need to be? What does this need to be all about? And again, it goes back to that camaraderie, right? So that's where Camp Comrade came from. Camp meaning you have a home base. Right. And my plan is that, we started Camp Comrade in Texas. If it kicks off in all 50 states, then we won. Right. Yeah. If we reach one person, which we already have, then we won. So now we're just having fun because we already did what we set out to do. So now it's just a good time. We gain information from somebody or somewhere every day. We make modifications. We make changes. We listen. We have thick skin. And then we meet great people like you guys that we get to team up with and create more comrades that are, collaborating to conquer. That's kind of the punch phrase that we've been using, and I love it. Right. Because it's not just collaborate to conquer, having successful nonprofits. It's obviously to collaborate and conquer the stigmas behind mental health and mental wellness, telling our own stories to show that, hey, no one's exempt from this. It doesn't matter where you were, what rank you were. If you were just something, none of that matters, right? It matters that you did it. You were 1% of America who chose to do that, right? So we believe that those folks need stuff given back to them, that they need a place to reside, they need a place to hang out, and that we do need to outreach to the spouses and the kiddos. These kids have gone through just as much as we have, if not worse, going to 8 to 10 to 12 schools. I talked to somebody the other day, his kid went to 3 high schools just from moving around and dealing with the Army. So all those kind of things is what motivated us to get this off the ground and get it running. And of course, we can't thank Americans enough for joining our journey and assisting in our endeavor to take care of these veterans that deserve that, and now to take care of the first responders as well.
I think the family unit and friends are so important when we talk about this stuff, because I can tell you from personal experience, because I cannot identify myself what would be causing any type of issue for anyone in my family mentally, because we all have what we need. We all have food on the table. We all have AC and heat, a place to sleep. But then when I see my family struggle, I'm like, this is because of what I do for a living. Like, it has to be. And even if it's not directly involved, it may be indirectly involved, or at some point I haven't done what I needed to because I had maturing and growing to do when it came to mental health. And so it's like, now I'm just now coming to that point myself where it's super important to me, which is sad because there were signs there probably all my life, just not something that I ever actually took care of. And it's like, not only do I need my family for support when I go to something like this, but I also need my family to go to something like this, because my 15-year-old son needs to break bread and fish and hear these stories and maybe meet another kid that's like, oh yeah, my dad's fucked up too. Like, this is what he does. And yeah, we have harsh punishments at home, and we go through the same thing. Like, I see now, okay, I'm not the only child that's here going through this. That makes sense. And so I think it's super important. And then I hesitate to say anything definitively, but there's a lot of things important in service, whether it's first responder, veteran based. But I think one of the most important things that we could ever have, at least what I love the most in the first responder realm, is that brotherhood and sisterhood.
That's right.
Because if my city fails me, I've got my brothers and sisters with me.
Always. Yep.
If the country fails our veteran, they've got their brothers and sisters. Like, how many, I don't know if the numbers are out there, maybe the definitive answer to this, but how many times before somebody actually pulls the trigger or puts the rope around their neck, or, and I'm sorry to talk like that, but it's the hard facts and the truth. How many times before they make the decision and actually carry it out, do they call somebody?
Or does somebody call them, right?
Or reach out in some, like, even my best friend killed himself. I was 21. He was 20 years old. And before he hung himself, I walked through the living room where he was sitting, and he was like, hey, what's up? He was reaching out. I didn't know that. It was 1:00 in the morning. I just closed down a Domino's Pizza. I was tired. And I was like, not much, man. Just, tired. I'm going to go to bed. And that was it. And then you drank a bottle and you walked outside, threw the rope, and ended it. Done. The firefighter that we had at Tomball that killed himself made a phone call before he did it. Like, how many times are they reaching out to their brothers and sisters? And that's not to shame anybody.
Sure.
Because I could have sat there and talked with him for 6 hours.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean he still wouldn't have come to the same conclusion. But I think we need our brothers and sisters more than we will admit. And I think, honestly, still in some people's minds, more than we're willing to say it's okay to need them.
Well, I'll add that right now, right? I'll tell you, 2017 was the worst year of my life, right? And the biggest mistake I made, I had 16 significant life events take place in 6 months. Inappropriate for anybody, right? But I made one huge mistake back then. I told no one I loved. No one. Because it was embarrassment, or it was, I don't know, we'll call it embarrassment for sake of conversation, right? Or I'm not supposed to be broken because I'm taking care of all these people.
Jason and I talked about it. I'm the fixer. What do you mean I need fixed?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So what I like to tell people to kind of soften that, right, is I am going to tell the person I love the most immediately from here on out. That alone has really helped me on my journey, and it's proven to work much more effectively than trying to do that on your own, or with people that don't love you, quite frankly, right? Yeah. So that's important that we create those avenues and those openings and the environment to say, hey man, it's just like you mentioned earlier, another kid saying, hey, that's how I grew up too. It just happened to us on Friday. We met a young lady behind us, and her dad was military, retired military as well. And she was sharing some of the isms that happen around their house. And we were just kind of comparing notes on that. Right. And, what I loved was the end state. What she said was, I love that now. I didn't know that then, but I love it now because it made me who I am today. Yep. And it made me a better person with that structure that was applied around it. Now, is our delivery always effective? Absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. I work on that today, every day, yesterday, tomorrow. I just try to make it fewer and fewer in between, and that's a win. Yeah. So, yeah. And then I praise those wins. And if the people around you that do love you are catching those wins, it's important to acknowledge those. Mental health doesn't stop because you went and talked to Jason. It's an ongoing effort from all parties, and it takes time, unfortunately, right? There's no magic quick fix, and that's a challenge in America today. Is I want it now, right? Yeah. The closest thing I've found to that is EMDR, but I'll hold that till later. So there is some right now, right? But it's difficult, right? So creating those environments where people can see, hey, my dad is not actually losing it. It is inappropriate that I didn't take out the trash or that I, did whatever, right? That structure that was applied, they'll find out later is for a reason, and you get that magical phone call that says, hey, sorry, man. Thanks. Yeah. I called my dad and said the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's so hard to as a parent wait for, because I'm in that season right now. Right. I'm in that season where, don't get me wrong, my oldest and I, we have a great relationship, and I know for a fact he loves me. I know he cares for me, and I know he knows that I have his best interest at heart, but there's a lot of things that he does not like about his life. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bro, it's to make you better. Yes, you have to go to school. Yes, you got to clean the litter box. Yes, you have to do dishes. Yes, we all take part in the chores, and you have chores. You have to do it. And I have no shame in saying that when things get real out of hand, it's like, hey, if you want to act like a prisoner, I will turn your room into a prison, and you will have a mattress and nothing else. So yes, I have stripped my kids.
I've never said that.
I'm tough on you. And that's what I tell everyone that we talk to is I'm tough on my kids because I want them to be good functioning members of society. Like, I'm not sorry for the fact that I look around at, probably just throwing out numbers and guessing, but probably 75% of the bullshit we deal with in society every day is caused by people who either didn't find their purpose or were not led to their purpose by their parents, because their parents didn't put in a good discipline structure and say, you're going to do what is right. Like, we had a sheepdog conversation, my oldest and I, when he was young. And it was, you are not a sheep and you are not a wolf. You are a sheepdog because you're my kid. You have no choice. So when you're in school, if I get a phone call that there was a bully beating the shit out of some kid and the school says, come pick up your son, he was involved in a fight, and I find out that you were protecting someone from being bullied, we're going to go get ice cream. And then you're going to take a 3-day break from school and we're good. You know, when it comes to you being a bully, I was like, you're not going to know bullying till you get home that day. So these are the things, like, these are the reasons and the purpose behind what we're doing. And the hard part about that is something Jason and I have talked about several times, is like, they're not going to get it right now. And you have to be okay with that.
That's right.
Like, not only okay with it, but you have to accept it and be happy about it and move on. Like,
and something else that is important to learn, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I didn't learn it till 2 years ago. You can put all that in place and still lose the game.
yeah.
Right? So the only thing that we can do is shape a path of success and happiness, and then they make that choice. And the sooner we can realize that as, you know, maturing parents, right?
Yeah.
It's a relief all on its own. You know, hey, I even say that today, like, hey, I wouldn't do that. I would do it like this, but you know what? Do whatever you want. Right? And that's important. You know, that's also important. You know, of course, a certain age, right? But it's important to know that we cannot make them be successful and we cannot make them be happy. We can provide and show and be the example. And then, you know, one day it's on them.
Yeah. I mean, even before that 18-year mark.
Absolutely.
Like that, I've told my son that several times. I'm like, look, you're 15 years old and there are certain things that you don't have a choice on, but there are certain things I can't control.
100%.
So if you want to be dumb enough to make those mistakes, by all means, go ahead. We'll deal with the consequences when they come, but I would like for you not to make that mistake.
That's right.
Know? And it's hard because as lucky as you can be in that same exact token, they just choose that one thing. And it's like, why? Why did you, like, you don't do drugs. You don't smoke on these, vapes and cigarettes and anything else. So why are you choosing to do this? But I think it is just that coming to terms with it, because ultimately, and why this is not a therapy session for John and turns into a good conversation for the nonprofits is it can affect our happiness.
That's right.
As parents. And so it is something that is so important, is that you have to understand, and Jason, I'll give you all the credit on that you can't fix everything. Mm-hmm. So, you know, just like you said, Wes, you're going to do everything you can, and it may be perfect and still go south.
That's right.
So you have to come to terms with that, and you can't let it affect your mental health, because then, you know, like for me particularly, it's like, hey, if my 15-year-old were, and he's not, but if he was a fuck up, well, I can't get so fixated on that because I got two other ones that I still need to raise that are 5 and 9.
That's right.
So it's different, man. Yeah. It's different.
You know, I tell people, anytime I'm talking about leadership, I tell people, once you have at least 5 people, it looks like this. This person does the best. These 2 are almost as good as him. This one is not, and this one's horrible. But we spend all of our time over here. Oh. And we forget about these guys. So this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And when it comes to leadership, especially in a workplace, that is a very real problem that we 100%. See in a lot of places that may be high functioning, but they're dysfunctional in that manner.
That's
where
right.
It's like, yeah, we're going to make blanket policies and cover these crap employees. And it's like, or you could coach them and make them better. And if they don't get better, you could get rid of them and leave me the hell alone because I do my job and I go home and you don't have problems out of me, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I love it, man. So I know both of these organizations obviously have the same mission, and we're providing very similar things that are kind of coming out. So we'll expand on that later. And I'll just kind of hop over to Jason and Patty and say like, hey, how did Guardian Grounds come about? You know, where did that get its start? Because obviously I came in after the dream was already had and after you had already written down on, you know, a napkin what we're going to do. And it's like, so how did that conversation come about and then turn into what it is today?
Wes and I ended up meeting at a pool party, and I think we actually met before that. But this particular party that we were at, I think, was it during COVID?
It was.
I think it was during COVID. We weren't social distancing.
Yeah,
so-
pool party during COVID.
Sorry, Texas. So we started talking about what he wanted to do with Camp Comrade, and initially we had spoken. He was really kind of gearing up towards me being a first responder liaison with Camp Comrade, and I was, completely enamored by it. Like, there was finally somebody who gave a shit about mental wellness in the veteran realm that wanted to share that with first responders. And so we had gone back and forth through some exchanges, and then life happens, family happens, and we came back a few years later, and Wes said, "Hey, I heard that you're doing this Guardian Grounds thing. I think it's awesome." And I'm like, "Oh man, like, thank God you think it's awesome. Like, I'm not trying to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
I promise you, I'm not." And he's like, "No, dude, we need to meet and we need to look at maybe partnering." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like, he's not pissed I'm trying to copy him, because I wasn't. And so we met and we started talking, and we realized that we were trying to get to the same end goal. And at the end of the day, like, we provide these services, and we provide, we're working on providing counseling services for veterans and first responders as well, with a counseling agency that most of us are all familiar with. And we're looking to provide peer support services, which goes without saying. I think Wes talked about that, telling lies around a campfire. That's peer support, right? We've been doing it for a long time and finally just got a formal process. So there's services there, chaplaincy services, if you want to go the faith route. There's services there that are valuable, that are for veterans and first responders. And when Wes told me that, hey, if we take care of the veterans, will you take care of our first responders? And I'm like, absolutely. And so any veteran that we get, especially the combat vets that need that combat vet camaraderie, as much as we want to say, like, a veteran's a veteran, there's different elements to that, right?
Sure,
And I'm
yeah.
not completely ignorant to that. I get it. I have Wes here and a team of people that are willing to open up their arms and welcome them in. And if Wes gets a first responder, hey, I got a guy for you that you can go talk to that's lived it for 20 years, And so I think all those things are important. Patty and I were driving one night, and we were on our way to a concert and in College Station, and we were about 15 minutes out from the concert, and we kind of started just talking, about what life looks like as far as mental wellness as first responders. And she had said, should we open up a facility? I'm like, well, what kind of facility? She's like, for mental health. And I said, well, yeah, and that's a huge undertaking though, right? Like, a lot of licenses. Texas Department of State Health has to get involved. Like, we need to get clinicians involved. It's going to take millions of dollars. Like, this is going to be a huge undertaking. And we went to the concert, and we sat through and we had discussed a little bit, and I was excited because I get excited over stuff like that. Like, it's going to happen tomorrow, and it never does. And my wife tries to put the reins on me in that sense. And so, I got excited, and we're sitting there and we're watching the concert, and there's a brief message from the sponsor of the concert. And it's a big, well-known construction company that put on the concert. They came on stage, and they had a advertisement that ran for like 45 seconds. And it was one of the most amazing advertisements that I've ever seen in my life. Like, just completely enamored for no reason, right? I'm like thinking these guys are going to get up there. They're going to bullshit. They're going to tout their company. They're going to say they give a shit about veterans because it was a Veterans Day concert. It was Veterans Day. It was a Veterans Day concert. And then they're going to go back in their little hole, and we'll never hear from them again. They probably don't even donate anything to the military, right? Or to veterans. Well, it was like the opposite, right? Like, you could tell that these guys gave a shit. And so about a week later, I got a call from one of my buddies up in Dallas, and he's like, hey, I want you to talk to this guy. He has a roofing business, and this is Philip. Philip's on our team too. He has a roofing business that he owns up in Fort Worth area, and he wants to hop on board. Well, Philip knew the company that advertised at the event that my wife and I just got done talking about starting a mental wellness facility, and Philip wanted to help bring mental wellness to first responders, him being a former firefighter himself. So it all, I mean, if anyone listening can keep track of all that shit I just said, it all came full circle in a very short time. And we were just super excited, but more or less like dependent on our faith to lead us to where we needed to go. And then the phone calls started coming to John, to you, to Jack, to Wes, and just start building this team of people that have a like-minded goal, that give a shit, and that aren't going to be, I guess, derailed in what our mission is, and we can keep that common goal. I don't know if Patty wants to add anything on to kind of what our origins and what our story is.
She's like, nope, approved, move on.
She's like, yeah, you talk too much, shut up.
No, I think where the idea was stirring up was because you had a program put in place at the department, and it was working, and everything, peer support, chaplaincy, professional counseling, all that stuff was working. But we got to a point to where we had first responders that needed more. And I think that was kind of where we were like, oh crap, we didn't get this far, and it is a problem. And we were starting to realize that, they do need inpatient. They do need,
where do they go?
Yeah. Where do we,
like when your services run out, where do you take them now? And we trudged into that, like Patty's saying. And I was like, shit, I don't have anywhere. Like, do we take him to Bentob and put him down in the psych ward? Like, do we take him to an inpatient facility? Where is one? Is it general population? Is there veterans there? Is there first responders there? Do they know how to take care of us? And are they culturally competent with us? Like, what are the areas that we can take them to address these issues? And unfortunately, we found out there are very, very, very limited and few resources in the state of Texas that are exclusively for first responders and veterans. None in the Houston area, which is what we're trying to change right now, and very few and far in between. So essentially what's happening right now is we're having to fly firefighters to Maryland to get help, right? And that sickens me to do that. And on top of that, you have to be a member of an organization,
right? Which
I won't name, but you have to be a member of an organization to fly up there and get the help you need. So, I mean, is that really taking care of our brothers and sisters?
I can understand where they're coming from on that stance because of the limited resource.
Sure.
But I think the bigger picture for us, as far as like a focus, is like that obviously proves that if one of the largest organizations is having that struggle, that means that our purpose is even more emboldened, because it's like if they're struggling, then that means everybody who's not reached by them needs something to step up. And if it's not a multi-billion-dollar organization, then who else can handle it?
Yeah.
So I'm not to say I disagree or that they can handle that better.
It's
because
a good point.
Every large organization could handle a whole lot of shit better. Like we know. It's just like our sayings, chaos chief has arrived on scene, and, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Like those are the worst things you can hear. So that goes for large corporations, large nonprofits, whatever. But yeah, I think what you're doing is shining light on how big of a problem it really is.
Yeah. We obviously there's other things that are in place that people have to be standardized in order to get the health care that they need. I mean, a lot of people need insurance, right, to get the help they need. And that's just you're a member of that insurance. And I understand all that. But
even when you have insurance, sometimes that doesn't cover it.
Right. And
you're out of pocket for it.
That's what we're setting out to do, right? Like that's what we're setting out to change. Like we don't want anything to hit insurance. We don't want anything to hit a pocketbook. We want America to rally around what we're doing and to be able to provide these people who have given their lives and their services to us as citizens, provide those services for them. I don't see how that's any kind of conundrum. But one thing I will say is ultimately what led me to the conversation with Patty about the facility, and Patty saying it, we kicked it around for a while. But I do want to say one thing. I had ended up speaking on my own circumstances since 2017. and I've gotten to speak nationally about this stuff. And I love speaking. I think it's important to raise awareness, but I eventually got tired of speaking and hearing time and time again of departments and organizations not having the resources in place for their people. So as much as I love talking and bringing up the problem, I want to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to sit there on the damn train tracks, and watch this train coming at me, and I'm aware of it, right? And so that's when we look at awareness. We look at awareness classes. I think awareness classes are bullshit. And I think we should have operation classes. Like this is the problem, and this is what we're going to do about it, right? Like we're not going to bring awareness to this. We're going to actually operate in this.
That is a very good point.
You know what I'm saying? And so being a training chief, I do a lot of, training plans for our folks. Anytime I see awareness in any topic, not just mental health, in any topic, it pisses me off. Because I'm like, we're just going to be aware of it and then just fucking go about our day?
My answer is 0, and it's from a first responder viewpoint. And so from the veteran side and Jason, your first responder side, how many times have you ever taken a training class that was just awareness for a fire department or for the military?
All the time.
And it's like, but we do things.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we train on being doing aware things, and then doing what we need to do not to? Yeah. Like that's a very good point. I like that.
I've been to a lot of conferences where it'll make you aware of problems, and people will go up there and share their story, which is amazing, right? That's a third of my presentation, my story. Okay. I make sure people leave with solutions, or at least the opportunity to get those solutions.
Yeah.
Because I've been going to fire conferences since 2006. I've been going to fire conferences, and I've left a lot of times with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And I got tired of doing that shit. So I'm like, look, we're going to talk about my story because I think it's important to see where I'm coming from, to know that I've walked in those shoes, to know that I was an addict, to know that I suffered divorce, to know that I went through all this bullshit in my life, that I had suicidal ideation. I think it's important when you develop a program that you've walked in those shoes, that you've been with those people before and where they're at in their walk. And you and I have had many heart-to-heart conversations about that stuff, man. And I have those same conversations with people that come up to me at a conference. Hey, thanks for sharing your story, man. I've been there. Well, did you get services that were provided to you? No, our department doesn't have them. Why not? Mm-hmm. And so that's why we're here. That's why we're doing exactly what we're doing. That's why we're sitting in this room right now.
Yeah. What I love is not to say that you have to have that backstory in order to help, because you don't. You can be a perfectly normal human being that's never had any mental health issues, and we can use you.
You can be a clinician that's never been a first responder.
Yeah, who is that person, though? I've been looking for that person. It's never had
where they at?
We're all jacked up.
Right.
But it's crazy to me how we're all kind of bonded by that. And it makes me think of Jeff Foxworthy, like, you can't make fun of rednecks unless you are one, and I are one. And it's the same thing where it's like, a lot of times I have kind of faced that myself, where I want to go get therapy or something, and then I talk to this just regular everyday clinic, and you say 4896, and they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, see, you have to be one to help one. Mm-hmm. And it's not the case, like in every case. That's not what I mean to say. But what I really mean to say is that it's awesome when you have a group of people who have all been through some shit. And so I can talk to that first responder and say, this is going to help and you should give it a shot. And when they fire back with, what the fuck would you know about it? Oh, me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but it's like almost being divorced, living with my sister for a week, going to therapy, like not wanting to kill myself, but definitely praying to God that I die in my sleep because I don't have the balls to kill myself. Like, what do I know about it? I know a lot of shit about it. Yeah. And I feel like that is a stronger connection because we're all hard-headed.
Sure.
So the first out that we get from somebody, even unknowingly, where they just say like 4896, what's that? And it's like, oh, I'm out, going home. This is a waste of time.
Yeah.
And it's like with us and with many organizations like us, you don't have that.
No.
You've got a lot of people who are like, hey, I was that person and now I'm not. And this is the kind of shit you need. So come check it out.
Yeah. It's just like a kid that's, I hate to say sensitive stuff, but a kid that's raised in a shitty home. A kid that has shit parents that might abuse them, that might be exposed to, whatever, pornography, alcohol, drugs, whatever. And then that kid grows up to do something to change the world.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be a product of what they experienced as a kid, right? And so, like, I think we're in that same arena, right? Like, we know that what our professions are and what they've done to our lives is shit. Like, we know that there are elements there that hurt, that suck. But we also know that there's another side of it because we're all living it right now, right? And we want to share that with everyone else.
Well, I say it all the time, right? As of today, you've survived every worst day you've ever had.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, so true.
Period. That's a true
Can we
statement,
cut
right?
that, John?
So, I try to get people to go back to that scenario, right? I like to give the scenario to Army guys or military folks anyways, or anybody that's ever been involved in like a roadside bomb, an IED, right? Improvised explosive device. For a couple of minutes, that's the worst fucking thing you've ever seen. For a couple of minutes. But what's weird is 10 minutes later, all the smoke's cleared. Everyone's patched up. You got recovery assets there. The threat is removed. And it seems like nothing happened. And then the next day you drive by, there's just a little hole in the ground, right? A little bruise in the ground. That's it. No more smoke, no more screaming, no more blood, no more nothing. And that happened in 24 hours. So I like to use that analogy to say, even though today feels like the worst you've ever been in, even though the situation seems so bad, give it 24 hours. Change your perspective a little bit, right? Like you said earlier, there's a lot of, you were wrapping off good things, right? Kids, jobs, food, roof. She beats me up all the time. Hey, tell me 15 things that are good, man.
Yeah.
Stop looking at me crazy. Tell me 15 good things. And then you get tired of doing that. She coached me to, hey, do that every time you're pissed off. Say 15 things you're grateful for. Eventually you get tired of saying things that you're grateful for if you play the game. And then you quickly realize I have more things that are good than bad. And I'm not saying I figured it out. Do not, please, no one take it like, oh,
this is a piece.
I've been healed. No,
Yeah,
I have not. Right. But even this is helpful, right? Every time we share the emotion, share the conversation, we desensitize that environment. Right. And that's the key. How do we take this, right? And again, the camaraderie, looking to my left and right, the peer counseling, it's so big. I mean, I used to get more out of talking to peers than I did anyone else. And nowadays, a lot of the counseling organizations, you do become a financial projection. There is no end in sight, right? And I don't like that either. Thankfully, we'll share some things in a little bit that can minimize that time period so that you can move on, right? You do see an end. When there's an end, and a very an excellent end, right? And I'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, I think it's important to understand that as bad as it feels right now, just take a breath, say 15 things that you are thankful for, and let's talk right now. What's the difference?
And we see these lessons in so many different ways too, because immediately as you were talking, I'm thinking over here from the leadership side again of, at work where it's like, I've definitely worked for bosses where I've felt that pressure of, I've done 642 good things for this company or this agency this month alone. And then I messed up twice. And now you're focusing on the mess up. Like that's the problem. And it's like, where the hell was my reward for the 642 things I did good? And I did 2 bad things. And instead of saying like, hey, that's out of character for you, let's coach on how to do better. And then let's move on from this and get back to it. We're dwelling on it. Mm-hmm. And when you dwell on it, just like mental health, there's some therapists out there they're so into exposure therapy that's all you do is dwell on the problems. And it's like, hey, going back to the training thing, I not only need you to tell me what the problems were and re-expose me to that so we can bring it up and talk about it and I can get those feelings out, but I also need you to tell me how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. Whether that's EMDR, whether that's tapping on your chest, whether it's deep breathing exercises. Like I need something that's going to tell me how to deal with it and not focus on the negative. Mm-hmm. Because you're absolutely right. And it's a perspective that I haven't really thought directly too much about. Like I've seen these things obviously And I've heard these things and thought about it, but just not directly thinking about that. Like, hey, when you're that mad in the moment that you're wanting to throw your phone or something else, remember that it's not that bad.
That's right.
For much longer.
Yeah, I think
That's
one of the cool things that I've obviously been to therapists, multiple therapists, multiple times, but and I don't say that to diminish the value. I think that it's amazing, but one thing that I do want to bring about is the last therapist that I saw was probably the most impactful, not because of what she taught me or not because of any kind of method, CBT, EMDR, hypnosis, whatever you use, everyone's different, but she taught me a way to appreciate life. And I think that that's a huge element that goes into what John just said, talking about, okay, you're so involved in trauma. You're so involved in trauma exposure and nipping that in the bud of a first responder or a veteran. Have you worked on getting them to try to appreciate their life as they stand right now, right?
Yeah.
Because we work to normalize the situation. That's step one, right? Normalize the feelings. Let them know that that's not abnormal. You shouldn't be feeling like you're isolated. You're normal, right? Whatever their normal is. But then on top of that, you need to make them feel like they have something in life to appreciate, to value. And I will, I'll take this to a little story real quick if I have time, John.
We can do whatever we want. We got the key to the
We
place.
can do whatever we want. I was sitting on the couch one night and I had a fire chief who runs a very esteemed program in the state of Texas call me. Say, hey, there's an individual in my class today that messaged me and said that he's thinking about killing himself. And I said, okay. I said, is he willing to talk to me? And he said, I don't know. Let me ask. And I said, okay, cool. So he came back. He said he wants to text you, but he's not going to call you. And I said, okay, I can respect that. I said, tell him to text me. Here's my number. So the guy texted me and he said, hey, going through some things right now. Chief told me to text you. Here it is. And so I said, hey, man, I'm going to walk through this with you tonight. I'm not going anywhere. If I need to drive out to where you are, then I will drive to where you are. It's about an hour drive from where he was at, but I will drive to where you're at. And he said, that's not necessary. I just feel comfortable texting. I don't know if I want to go full exposure and call you yet. Totally normal. I've been there. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. So we're texting back and forth. I'm just trying to pretty much keep, for lack of better terms, the pulse going and between the conversation. And eventually I reach out again and I said, hey, man, I said, it's 11 o'clock right now. And I said, I hope to have this thing wrapped up for your sake by midnight so you can get some rest for class tomorrow. What do you think? And he's like, okay, I'll call. And so gave it about 5 minutes. Hey, man, you still there? You still calling? Yeah, I'm going to call. Hey, man, you going to call? Yeah, I'm going to call. Finally, he calls. And we sat there and we talked and we talked and we talked. And there was a lot of alcoholism involved, obviously.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bad social relationships, but also a bad family situation. He wasn't close with either of his parents. He said he was raised up in a shitty childhood and all this. And I said, who are you close to? Who do you tell stuff to? He's like, well, my sister. And I said, oh, there we go. I said, so your sister, I said, does she have any kids? And he's like, oh yeah, she has 2 daughters. I said, cool. So your uncle John, we'll just use that name.
Yeah.
Your Uncle John. Yeah. I love those kids to death. And I'm like, so you have something, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, you're right. And we spent probably 30 minutes talking about those kids and everything that they've done from the minute they were born all the way up until their current age. And now I told that dude that night, I'm not going to drop you. Like, you're going to want to treat me like a one night stand and you're going to not want to answer my text or my call tomorrow, but I'm not going to stop. I said, so just answer it and then I'll stop. Right.
Yeah.
And we still text to this day. That was months ago. And I still text him, hey man, how's everything going? Dude, life is so great right now. I moved back in with my sister, closer than ever with my nieces. And I say all that and that whole story because what it went to was normalcy. Right. And then it went to me being vulnerable with him, not putting a cherry on top of his story, not being a cherry topper, right? But being vulnerable, sharing experiences with one another, and then also giving him an appreciation for life with those two little girls that he's now able to walk down the aisle with.
Yeah.
You know, so just something, you know, for whoever's listening to take with them, normalize it, you know, be transparent, vulnerable, and give them an appreciation for life. That's a hell of a start.
Yeah. So connecting with your community, getting out to Mother Nature, reconnecting with Mother Nature, and then having that time to relax, take the pressure off. You don't owe anything for being here. You don't owe anything to this place. You're just enjoying it. I think we know what it is that our organizations are doing for veterans and first responders. Why do you feel it's so important? And then obviously that's kind of our starting place, our jumping off point, what we want to offer now that we can. But what is the main goal in the future? Because obviously, Jason, you know, you're mentioning inpatient treatment and these hospitals and the shortage there. So what is the end game? What are we really looking to move forward to?
My end game is that when someone is feeling that, like that young man was in that course, that they don't go to Google. They go up Camp Comrade or up Guardian Grounds or both, right? That's the end goal. I want to go on vacation with my family. Up, I can call Camp Comrade. That's my end goal, anyways. And if it's if that's available in all 50 states, great. And what we've done in the meantime to kind of create that is, hey, you don't have to get here to Texas. We can provide an Airbnb just like we can provide a location that we do have, right? So I had a guy hit me up yesterday. One of my friends, colleague that I served with in Iraq, wrote online that he had a shitty day and lost a family member, and so I wrote on there, hey man, PM me. I'm gonna PM you, and I would like to talk to you. But in addition to that, check out Camp Comrade, man. It's just for this type of scenario. And one of our other guys that we served with in Iraq messaged me right after that. Hey, I'm interested in these services as well. That's the goal, right? That they're aware. So awareness is number one. After we just beat awareness.
Calm down, Jason. Awareness is just one part, Jason.
Awareness of the organizations is critical. Obviously, outreach is a thing, right? Marketing is a thing. So that's important. That's number one. I think about it every day. So people like the UFL who have supported us and got our name out there, and all the organizations that have supported us to this point. I cannot thank all of them enough. I wish I could rap them all off right now, but unfortunately I can't. I will do that shout out one day. But that's my end goal. And really it's obvious. It's also to kill the stigma, right? Hey man, like I said earlier, who doesn't have a mental health challenge at some point? It's normal. Normalize it. Yep. The reason I can normalize it is because we've all been through it.
Yeah.
Right. And some more extreme. I'm not taking away from any of that, but we can normalize it because, quite frankly, it is normal. What's abnormal is how we handle it. Right. So if we can normalize that part of how we handle it, I'll tell you, recently, 6 months ago, I tried to find help. Right. And it took me 14 hours. And I was a senior enlisted guy in the military. I thought I knew all that stuff. I thought I could point you in any direction. And do you know what's funny? I finally got help from him. So I went to all these military programs to find it. And I needed it then, not later.
Yeah. In
fact, I probably needed it 14 hours sooner. And I tell him my struggle, and he's like, dude, call this person. I go, wow, man, thank you. And then that's been on my mind since the day he did that for me, right? And he has a story, I'm sure you'll hear it sometime, about his starfish. I was one of his starfish, right? Yeah. So I can't thank him enough. So we talk about camaraderie and brotherhood. It's probably why we're sitting on the couch together.
100%.
Right? It was supposed to. And just like, anybody else that's sitting at that table with us, we can hand that card off. However, one thing that we're adding to the website is that journey that I took and what worked and what didn't. I will tell you, and I'll just say it on here, 988*1, that's the veteran suicide hotline. That is the quickest way to get someone to help you, right? Immediately. When I resorted to that number, and I say resorted because I was tired of that shit. Interestingly enough, the guy says, hey, I can either leave you on the phone on hold, I can hand you to someone else. But what I need to do is I need to find you a counseling location near you. So give me your zip code and I'm going to find it right now while we're on the phone. He did that. He did that very thing. In fact, he sent me to the same place that I got the card to go visit. So I was doing one type of therapy there. But what he unleashed for me was a different type of therapy. So I was doing CBT. I really needed to be doing EMDR. That opened that door for me, right? So we're going to put all these things as an outreach side on the website so that someone else doesn't have to go through that 14 hours. And that was a long way to tell you that's the second part of the mission there. But if they hear us, and like Jason said, I'm not trying to put a cherry on top. I'm trying to be vulnerable with you as well, to say it's okay, right? It's okay. What I love about the veteran and first responder community is I think, or I believe, once we obtain that outreach and understanding, operational understanding of how we function, the doors are going to open up. It's going to be that safe place where guys and girls are willing to have that peer-to-peer counseling. They're willing to be vulnerable and they're willing to tell their story and get the appropriate help that they need. And that could be as simple as the fire pit, or it can, be as extreme as inpatient, if you will.
And I think that's important to differentiate too, is like, just because we're not saying that we've broken ground on an inpatient facility that's going to be housing these people right now. Like, we're not just talking about coming and sitting around a campfire in a cabin. We're not just talking about going hunting or going fishing. Like, those are all pieces and parts of it that you can partake in. But we're also talking about being able to get that clinical help. Yeah, whether it's right there outside by the campfire with a clinician talking to you, or going to visit someone in an office and then receiving those treatments, that therapy, whatever the case may be. It's like, hey, this truly is action and therapy as well, and treatment of some sort. We're not just talking about saying, okay, everyone hold hands and say kumbaya and, smoke a cigar by the fire. Like, now we're all better. Let's go back home.
That's right.
No, it's also going to be care when you get home.
It's
right. Going to be continued. It's, this is going to be check-ins. Right. Like Jason said, still talk to the guy months later. Like, this isn't something where you're just handed off to somebody else and it's like, cool, fuck off. We'll see you later. Let me know if you want to go on a hunting trip later. It's like, no, we're your family now. That's right. You're a part of the brotherhood. So
yeah, and I think something we're looking for in that manner, and looking at creating is some sort of phone application, to where we can keep that camaraderie, and we can keep that phone tree, if you will, leveraging some technology now to make it easy, to where there's a great organization out there today that you take their counseling courses and you show up at your face where you live on a map that says you're available to talk. And anybody that logs in can either click your photo and do a video call, a text message, or a call. So I think I'd mentioned that to Jason, but I'm looking at working with them to see if we can pull them in, to use them as the platform to where we can keep that connective tissue with everybody that's been there. Because I'll tell you, I mentioned earlier, one of the other organizations that did talk and have difficult conversations around the campfire, which is, you don't have to do that. I want to make that very clear. You can come to Camp Comrade or Guardian Grounds with nothing wrong, to come tell your story or come just hang out.
I was going to ask that later once we started wrapping, but yeah. So this isn't just saying, if you're sick, come.
No,
this
is
saying you're a veteran or a first responder.
Hey, my family's looking for a spot to go camping on spring break.
Boom.
Cool.
There you go.
Here, free spot.
Yeah.
Like, go have a ball, have fun, not going to touch your pocketbook.
Yeah.
No issues whatsoever.
And really, in the military, everybody may not understand this. You know, a younger enlisted soldier obviously not making a ton of money, right? So what they end up doing is they get in this cycle of they get leave, and their folks will buy them a ticket home. So they go from work to home, from work to home. They never go on vacation. They never go to the beach. They never go to the mountains. They never go kayaking. They never go fishing.
Yeah.
They go home, right? Because that was a free ticket to go home, and it didn't hit the pocketbook. So that was the other part that we recognized was, hey, let's slide in there and say, there's other places you can go. Right.
Like
take your family to the beach or to the mountains or whatever. Right.
Southwest commercial. Want to get away?
That's right. That's right. I've thought about putting that on the back of a Camp Comrade shirt. Want to get away? Come to Camp Comrade.
We've
right?
got vacations for free night.
Yeah. I just didn't want to get rolled up by them for copyright infringement.
No, what we do is we just hit them up and then we partner with them. And
there you go.
That's
you know, we get some like severely reduced flights for us, so we can provide that for free for
Get
the
them
veteran
back
or first
flying out of
responder.
bush because now they only fly out of hobby. And
I know.
crappy.
It makes me sad. I love
the
Southwest.
hell?
Like, I know this isn't a commercial for Southwest. They don't sponsor the show yet, but
Patty doesn't do well down by the hobby area. I'll say that much.
yeah, it's crazy.
No offense to
down
the
there.
hobby area. We love you.
No, I do. I love all of Houston. H-Town's my
That's
place,
it, baby.
but I don't even like the drive down there.
Yeah, it's the
That's
drive.
right.
It's
Yeah.
the drive
It's the
for
drive.
sure.
So
sure.
that's awesome. Jason, I know that we align so well with Camp Comrade. That's why when you called me and said, I want us to all be on board, but this is the way we need to go with partnering with Wes, and here's why. I mean, that's that brotherhood thing. Like, I didn't have to hear anything else besides he aligns with us and I vouch for him. And then I was like, well, I'm on board. Like, cool, we're good to go.
That's right.
But, you know, it was a no-brainer because I know we align so well. But what is, and we could talk about what it was, your end goal, and what it is now, and what you think it's shaping into for Guardian Ground specifically.
Yeah, for Wes and I both, I mean, like I said, when we sat down, you know, a few years later after initially discussing it, I just said, look, man, like I'm looking at a 3-phase process. You know, I want to get some property, which we still need property. Anyone who's listening that wants to donate and get a hell of a tax write-off, we are 100% receptive to that idea.
Yeah, $999,000, one easy in payment. Like, we can take that.
That's
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. One easy payment.
We accept cash, check, money order, firstborn child.
That's right.
Credit card, whatever you got.
We do have, because of our partnership, property in Lindale that we're going to be working on soon, coming up in the next month or so. And so hopefully that property will be ready to go.
Are y'all open to outside help? Other veterans, first responders, the public coming up and helping with
Absolutely.
that work day? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the day
Yeah.
of that work day?
It is the weekend of June 1st.
Okay.
June 1st, Lindale, Texas. Reach out with the contact information after the podcast if you're interested. We'd love.
Yeah, we'll have everything in the show notes, but
Everyone to come
guardiangrounds.org, you can hit the contact us page. Same with Camp Comrade. Hit that contact form, fill it out. Somebody from one of our teams will get it. We will reach out to you. We're in need of help for sure.
That's right. And so going back to the original question, opening up campsites. So we have the ability, to host that coming up soon. Campsites. We want to do some cool things with the campsites. So any corporate sponsorships, partnerships that we can align with, we would love to incorporate that somehow. We also want to eventually put some modular homes in place and name those specific modular homes after those that have been lost in the line of duty or killed in action. We want to make sure that we're honoring those folks with permission, obviously. And then obviously the third phase, the phase that I think we're all ultimately looking to get to one day, is to have an inpatient facility that can house behavioral health issues and addiction treatment. In today's society, that's called a dual certification facility. That is ultimately what I want to do for this area. So I think that would be outstanding to have that piece of property with that building on it and have funding, whether it be from the state, from private donors, from wherever. Like I said, I'm not picky when it comes to taking money. I'll take money from anyone as long as it's for this cause. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think that's where we're both at. You know, we're taking it as slow as I possibly can, which isn't slow at all. We were just talking today.
Yeah.
I mean, we launched in January officially, and this thing has just exploded, which has been amazing to see and to be a part of. And there's days where, I got to pull the reins a little bit and chill. My wife reminds me of that often. But then there's days where I'm like, man, like I think everyone wrote us off and no one's getting back to me and everyone ghosted me.
Mm-hmm. Or nights and mornings at midnight when we're texting back and forth and making website changes.
John sends me TikToks about AI, how it's taking over the world, and it makes me panic and have nightmares. Yep. He did that last night.
True story.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, where we're at right now is an amazing spot. I say all that to say this is, we have partnerships right now that are awesome. And you just think that people kind of shun you or just kind of push you off in a way. And then, like I had 3 people reach out to me today that I thought were long gone, that want to help us out in some way, shape or form. And it's just been nice, man. It's been nice to get the feedback and to get the buy-in from people, especially at the Roughnecks game. Wes and I were talking like complete strangers, just walking up, just want to help, just want to help. So,
yeah. I mean, cool. I know, speaking on the Guardian Grounds side of things, as a marketing guy who helped facilitate a majority of the stuff that we needed to get that job done, I was actually pretty stunned at the amount of money that we made.
Yeah.
And not anything that I did, not anything, it truly was a team effort,
Absolutely,
all of us being there, but it was insane how the knife raffle that we're doing brought in a shit ton of money right there at the game because people were like, oh, that looks really cool. I think
Wes being shirtless outside of his tent was
that did help.
I did donate about $100 bills to Camp Comrade because of that. Yeah, Sarah didn't see, but we snuck off our noses in the bathroom.
Sarah was getting food and we made Wes get undressed.
That's right.
Yeah.
I thought y'all weren't going to say anything about that.
Okay. Well, it's a secret. Nobody knows. They don't see our faces.
It's our secret.
No one will hear this.
Right. If it's done wrong, no one will hear this. So, no, I mean, I think those things are great. There's obviously, I think, twofold on this question to kind of start wrapping things up. I know this podcast has gone long. I expected it to. It's a good thing. We have a lot to say. But to kind of start moving towards what is it that we need most? And it's such a loaded question in a way. And then also it's a simple question because every nonprofit, there's one thing that they need, and that's money. Mm-hmm. No doubt. Right. But it's so much more than that.
That's right.
It's volunteers for work days. It's volunteers to actually come out and help facilitate these things. It's if you're a part of a therapy organization or any type of treatment organization that says, hey, we do some free services. Like we can't go to our partners and ask them to handle everything and then say, I've got 300 new clients for you per month. Like when we get to that point where we've got 300 clients per month, which I hope we do, then we are going to need 3, 4, 5, 6 different agencies that we can put on a round robin and just say, cool, these 10 are going here. These 10 are going here. Like this is where we're putting those people. So what is it that helps? And I'll start by answering as the marketing guy. If you don't like our pages on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else and share our stuff, you can do that and help us for free.
That's right.
There's no money involved. It takes you maybe, being realistic, 5 to 10 minutes max to go to every single channel and like something and share something, and that's it. And that helps. If you've got connections within this industry, people that can help with this, then make those connections, send them to those same channels, help us out. But what do you gentlemen think is the most important thing that's going to help us to get to that point right now?
I think the most important thing is tell our story and outreach, right? Like you said, share them, like them. If they do nothing but share them, I'll tell you. Yeah, I'm going to say it. What's interesting to me is everything that I've posted in the last 3 years have been shared by, I think the minimum was 42 people, right? What's interesting to me though, is people will share that and they'll write at the top, this is a great organization to donate to. And then I look at the donations and I'm like, well, that's a weird phenomenon that you would tell someone else to do something that you're not doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, donate $1. I don't care.
Right.
If that's all you got.
That's right. And I'll tell you, 100% of donations for us goes back to the veteran, right? You look at other organizations, the most I've seen thus far is 87%, and we're at 100 to date. So that's important, I think, for everybody to hear. I'm not lining my pocketbook with your money. It's all going back to a veteran, and not me, right? So, you're right. Anything helps. $1, 50 cents. Telling our story, that's worth $100 every time. And then use the services. They're there for you, right? Yeah. So use them, utilize them, make us work, make us sleepy. We're here for you.
Yeah, I think beyond that, that's obviously there's no wrong answer, right? When you're saying what we need for resources. And I do think that the partnerships that we've acquired early on have been absolutely instrumental. I mean, we're sitting right now in a facility, and I'm sure people can see, but I'm looking all around me at thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment that has been donated to us to film this. John's time is donated. The owner of Beefy, Andrew, came up here and set everything up in the middle of cutting his yard. Just the devotion to the time and to have partners that believe in what we're doing. I could rattle off a few. I'd feel bad if I left some out, but
I was going to say we can round robin that and just start naming names, because I know, and I apologize personally if we leave somebody out, but there's been so many so fast. But I think it is important on this platform to mention, like Beefy Marketing and how much they've allowed me to do. Got Your Six and how they came in and said, let's create a co-branded shirt. Let's make this thing rock and roll. Thread Tats, how she came in, Emma, and was like, hey, I'm already working with Camp Comrade. I know I can help y'all out too. And it's like that in itself shows too, that's 3 technical competitors. We print shirts at Beefy. Emma prints shirts, Got Your Six print shirts. Like we all do merch. We all do marketing. We can all set you up. And all 3 of us said, you know what? This is greater than our companies.
That's right.
Let's collaborate on this because it's too much for John to handle the shirts, the fulfillment, the website, the SaaS behind it with Wingman, everything else that he has to handle. He can't do that alone. So it's like, let's bring in those other resources that may be competitors, but for this, we'll put that to the side.
Sure. Yeah. And it's, and like you said, Beefy came alongside us immediately. As soon as we landed you approached Andrew, and Andrew said, whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. And like Camp Comrade, I just want to be clear too, 100% of what we get goes right back into Guardian Grounds as well. We have very well-paying jobs. We're very astute where we're at in our lives. Like we're good. We just want to help people.
If you have a job out there you want to offer me, I will take it because I need more money than what I currently make, but my family is comfortable.
Do you want to move to Idaho?
We are fed. Hey, you know what? Maybe.
I do want to add one more thing there because it kind of goes in line with what you were saying. We did mention the Lindell trip. We are building out Lindell with 3 new cabins at a minimum and a 2-bedroom apartment that's in addition to the log home that's already on site.
Yep.
So that is our biggest push right now is getting funding for the cabins, funding for the build out of the 2-bedroom apartment. And like he mentioned earlier, we've already dedicated one of those cabins to a fallen comrade. Not only his family, but also another veteran organization, the Veteran Support Commission, is involved in the creation of that and the dedication of that to the fallen comrade. What we're looking at doing in each of those is having a digital photo album where we tell that person's story. And then, of course, anytime that their family members, the Gold Star families, want to come join and reside in that cabin, they're welcome to do so. So if people would like to be involved in creating those environments for both the serving veterans today or the fallen comrades, they're welcome to do that.
And I think it's important, too, talking about support. But if you call these companies and you say, hey, Thread Tats, Emma, I was listening to the podcast, Wes, Jason, John, they talked about you. What projects are you working on with them right now? And, she says, hey, I'm creating these hats, these shirts, or whatever the case may be. You don't have to donate to our platform that's going to take their small fee, but their fee for the donation. You don't have to donate to us directly to know okay, well, what are they doing with the money or anything else? You can support that project specifically.
Absolutely.
That's
So
right.
you can call Emma and say, oh, you're running 24 hats for them. Cool. Can I pay for that order?
That's
And-
right.
And that helps. And even if you're thinking like, well, I own a company and I could use marketing services and merchandise and everything else, you call those 3 companies and you say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ, and they can take care of you. And when they ask, hey, how'd you hear about us? And you say the podcast where Camp Comrade and Guardian Grounds talked about the good that you're doing in the community, so now I want to support you. That helps us too, because then it's easier for them to say like, well, shit, I just got a, $16,000 merchandise order and they came to me because of Guardian Grounds or Camp Comrade. Guess what? I can now open up some of that funds to help out these organizations even more. So you don't have to just support us. You can support those that are helping us as well.
That's right.
Fostering those relationships are important. And I mean, to note, to this day, I have all the endorsements pulled up that we've had from some of our partners, First Place Supply. I mean, it's cool because we have 2 small business owners in our own committee. Patty, my wife being one of them, owns her own business. Well, actually, we have 3 because Wes has his, and then obviously Firefighter Roofing with Philip that we talked about earlier. So I think having the movers and shakers that literally run businesses and companies being involved with running a business, 501c3, has been awesome. Shield Bearers Counseling, they're the reason why I'm doing this. They came along right next to me and was like, whatever you need, we're there. They were to a point where they're like, we'll give you whatever you need, just tell us. And I had no idea what I needed until recently when Wes and I sat down with them, got your 6 first responder conferences, and Sean Thomas and what she's doing, going around the country, providing mental wellness conferences for first responders and veterans is just simply amazing. If you guys are anywhere in the Houston area in October, they're coming. Please show up. I'm speaking there. It would be amazing for y'all to be there. Project Zero, Kyle and the guys over there have sat down.
Not a dime given to us.
No.
It didn't take money.
No.
He gave us knowledge.
Yes.
He gave us connections.
Yes.
He gave us, hey, I'll bring my people to you.
Yes.
I will, take your people
Come
from you.
to my event. I
Yeah.
mean, we're going to be doing a joint event with just them at Klein Kane High School for a ruck march on Memorial Day. I mean,
Yep.
those are the partnerships and the visibility that we're looking at right now. Sam Cannon and his group, Sam's a CPA. I coached football with his son 2 years ago, and he came to me and he's like, man, I help 501c3s out. I give them office spaces for free. And that's literally where our headquarters is now. That's our office space on Jones Road. And so that's been absolutely amazing. First Response Family Clinic, great people.
Oh, I love them. We go every year
Yep.
for our stuff there. Awesome people.
Yep.
It's
Desi
our
and-
people taking care of our people.
Desi and Jerry Bittner.
Yep.
Jerry's a retiree from HFD, and just super cool people that have helped me a lot. Creekwood Grill, Brian Sandell from Creekwood, the owner, got me in tune with the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, those things just start to naturally and organically take place, and it's not even hard, and I think that's a cool thing, is it's not hard to say yes to these people. And I think when those people say yes to us so quickly, it makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we're aligned and we're affirmed in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the rap sheet, by the way.
It's not the whole thing. You won't say it, so I will. But Jason Corthell with Ironclad Wellness, because your company is what has definitely had a really big impact on your mission and your purpose and why you want to do this. Also, it's natural that our companies Andrew and I, we own OMG Event Co. Our events, there's going to be a DJ system. There's going to be a photo booth. That's just a given. And I get it, but it still means something. It's still our company giving to what we need. So I will mention it since you won't, and say, hey,
thank you.
That's where it comes from, man. And you don't have to give anything to be on this list either.
No.
You can endorse us and give us publicity.
That's it.
And
Right.
give us time
Yep.
and just endorse us and say, I support them. Maybe I've given a donation. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I've shared them on social media. I mean, somebody that has 80,000 followers on Facebook shares our information on their Facebook. That is helping.
That's right.
That's
I had a
awareness.
couple more too. I want to mention what really kicked us off was a collaboration with a group of folks from Detroit, about 14 professionals in Detroit, ranging from CPAs, lawyers, real estate investors that help gentrify Detroit, directors, marketing directors. They brought us out to Detroit, hosted us in the Detroit Athletic Club. We got to oversee a Tigers game from the restaurant balcony in the Detroit Athletic Club. We pitched our story with them. They've been involved daily since then. In fact, we're planning another trip now to go back up and really give a personal update on where everything is at. So those guys have been instrumental. If you go to our website, you'll see Detroit's more than just the Tigers. There's some photos on there. And there was another one that escaped me while I was talking about that. That bums me out. But if I think of it, I'll just blurt out in a minute. And
in the magic of editing, we'll go back and we'll just take that little portion you set out and we'll replace it with the one you it on. So no one will know the difference. And if we can't remember, again, we apologize. We're not trying to leave anybody out. It's just the support's been crazy. And I can't personally thank them enough, because it doesn't matter if it's our organizations here in this room or someone else's. The fact that you're donating anything to anyone is great. And I'm not asking you to stop donating to your cause that you believe in and support and switch to us. Maybe that is why you can just share and say, hey, this is an organization that's deserving of your money. I can't personally do anything else myself, but here we go. I mean, I'm definitely facing that, right? I'm tapped out with what I'm doing between our two organizations. And so it's like, I can't go out there and support every other nonprofit, but there are so many that's worthy. So if you're listening and you're like, you know what, I don't really give a shit about veterans and first responders. Hey, go find.
Shame on you, first
right? Go find that organization that speaks to you and gives you purpose, and just be a part of it, because that will help your mental health too. And if you don't feel like you have a mental health issue, that's great, but you better keep maintaining that with vacations, with doing work for other people or with other people. All that stuff is therapeutic.
Yeah, and two of the best that have really helped us was that I mentioned at the beginning was Fred Lobster in East Texas. His organization paired up with the Veterans Support Commission. They run an event every year around Veterans Day, if not on it. So that's another great place to reach out and attend. We've attended for 3 years in a row. Food trucks, Jeep track. Nonprofits hanging out everywhere. Great company, great community, live bands all day, auctions, silent auctions, you name it, it's there. Again, that's Fred Lobster, and it's in Gladewater, Texas. And then I'm going to retap Shield Bearer, one of the best organizations that I've ran into in the city of Houston. Between their staff, their capabilities, and their commitment to both organizations has been second to none.
Yeah. I mean, and you know why? Because I work with Alexis's husband.
Love it.
And because Michelle is just like one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life. And she helps make that. And everybody else there too. Those are just the two that I personally know. They actually care. They work with a crap ton of veterans and first responders. They are actually out here doing it. They're not the ones that just say like, yeah, we can help anyone, including you, first responder. Come on. Like, they intimately know what happens in our lives, in our heads. And they may jam Christian music in the lobby, but it doesn't mean you can't be raw and real with them either. Like, it is truly a comfortable place to be in. I'm speaking from experience.
I'm speaking from experience as well. And it's, all I worry about Shield Bearer is if Michelle gets any sleep.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know how she does.
The lady's a robot.
Because I've gone to appointments at all hours of the day.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, she's a godsend for sure.
And the fact that when I'm in a crisis, whether it's me, my family, a friend, or a brother or sister in the industry, the fact that you can text her phone number to someone and say, hey, she's going to answer you and give you, just like Jason, when you get that call, it's like, holy shit, they actually care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I've traveled more counselors than I want to admit, but she is second to none. Yeah. So very impressed, and I appreciate Shield Bearer more.
She's all right.
We'll let her know that Jason said she's all right, so she can take that out on you and not us. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that it's been a great episode. I think we've hit so many really good topics, and I know that we could go on for like another 2 hours. I don't even know how long we've been recording, but I know it's been a while. So it is something we'll have to revisit at a later time, something we should most definitely,
For sure.
Keep in top of mind for everybody. And if you want to keep up with us, you want to hear the updates, then fill out the contact us form, sign up for the newsletters. This isn't something where we're bombarding you every day with a text message and an email and all that stuff. Like, we're not your subscription to something else. We're just going to let you know, hey, we've got events coming up this weekend. Here's what they are. Catch us next month. Here's how you can support. Here's our needs currently. Like, it's important stuff that you're going to get communicated with. So reach out to us, connect, be a part of it. What else can we say, fellas?
Catch us on Triple Threat Vets if this is before.
Yeah. Well, and always catch the replays too. I mean, like, all the stuff that we are producing, like, you're going to see tidbits of this show cut up.
That's right.
And it'll be shared by Beefy Marketing. It'll be shared by Camp Comrade, by Guardian Grounds. I'm sure that the organizations that we've mentioned and spoke some love to and gave flowers to are going to want to share on their social media those clips.
Do it.
We'll get that stuff cut up and shared up for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Cool.
Awesome. I think we plugged everything we could, so I'm going to call it.
Except one last thank you to Beefy Marketing for taking care of us today.
Yeah, Andrew's been amazing,
Andrew's
man.
the man.
He said, look, if it's going to cost me money, pay the cost. And otherwise, if it's just going to cost us our time or your time, then give what you want to give. And I mean, I told y'all before we walked in here, like, sometimes I have to pull him back, and I'm like, no. We are going to pay for this.
All right.
So stop saying that. Like,
That's right.
Let's go on. So yeah, Andrew's worked with veterans the majority of his life. And it's something that's always been important to him. Andrew was a first responder, albeit we were just volunteer firefighters. Wes's favorite word. We were volunteers as kids doing things we shouldn't have done in the Wild West of Waller, Texas, before they ever had a paid fireman in their midst. And, here we are today. It's still something that's passionate to us. I mean, hell, I can't bring myself to quit the damn industry and come over here where there's a whole lot less stress on me every day. Yeah. I don't have to miss holidays for this or kids' birthday parties or sporting games, but like we talked about this entire episode, we're all a little bit fucked up. So apparently I'm enough that I'm just like, you know what? I want to stay in this torture and love it because we do embrace the suck. So
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us, Patty, even you. I appreciate it. It's been a great episode. We have talked about some amazing things. We've gone deep like we do sometimes, and we've had some good lighthearted conversation. And I hope that as a listener, you got something out of this. And I do want to ask something from you as the listener. If you do nothing else, share this podcast. Share it with this episode specifically. I don't care about Small Business Origins. I don't care about John the Marketer. I don't care about Beefy. If you do nothing else after listening to this episode, copy the link. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, click share, copy link, send that to 2 friends. If you send it to 2 friends and ask them to send it to 2, it multiplies and it stacks on top of each other. And the awareness that we get, the views that we get, it's amazing for our organization. So if you would do that and nothing else, that'd be great. If you want to help out, head over to our social media channels. We'll have everything. And yes, there's going to be like a list of 652 links for you to hit in our show notes, but go hit a few of those links and like us, follow us, share that. If you feel so inclined and led, please hit us up on our websites and go to the donate page. I don't care if you leave $1. I don't care if you leave $2. It all makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And both of these organizations right now, I know, speaking from experience with Guardian Grounds, it all goes back to the veteran, even if it is we need a tent so we can do these events. We need some materials and stuff like that, but none of us at either organization's taking a dime. It's all going back to the veterans and first responders of this community, some of the most important people that need our help because of the lack of funds, the lack of availability to help them, all of these things we talked about. So that's really it for us, man. It's been another great episode. And as always, stay beefy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Small Business Origins.
I love an origin story.
If you like what you just heard, leave us a review, subscribe, and share with a friend.
You guys, check this out.
They're going to love it. You're going to love it.